update?
It's the ETH, the next phase of the ETH 2.0 upgrade. So
Oh,
it's when you can start to withdraw your ETH 2.0. I'm not sure what they're going to call it. I mean, you can withdraw your new ETH from the new chain that you would have
oh,
gotten from staking.
okay. Oh, so your staked funds. Okay. Will that reduce liquidity pools, or will that's irrelevant? Like, are people just going to take their money and run, or are they just going to leave it staked?
I think they're going to leave it staked
I think
only
they're going to leave it.
because when they put it in, it was probably ETH was probably over 2,000. So if they're taking it out now, it's probably at a loss. Once they get
When it
over,
converted,
yeah,
yeah.
once they get over the average point of staking, whatever that is, if it's 2,000 or 2,200, then you could start to see some people maybe take stuff off as they're looking to break even, or even maybe earlier for losses. One of the things, and I know we're going to dive into the market here. One of the things that I'm still holding on to is that the third quarter, like the Ides of March, so March 15th to about April 15th, every year in every market, there's about 5 to 10% kind of down as basically people have to scramble to pay their taxes. So
Mhm.
I think that could coincide with a bunch of different things this year. And maybe that's something too, where since people can finally have access to the ETH that they staked, there could be some movement on just Ethereum if we're looking strictly at Ethereum.
Interesting. Interesting. So, and that
It's
happens every year. What's that, Jay?
it's like 10% of the total of 13% of the total ETH in circulation is currently staked.
Yeah, it's a
That
lot.
is a lot, actually.
Billions of dollars. I mean, it's a
And that's ETH
substantial
1
amount.
and 2. So for those just piping in, we got Jarrett, who is joining us from Pacific Standard Time. He's at Mercy Corps headquarters to do a presentation on crypto for the internal team. Can you give us the high level, whatever you can share about that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think in the future, I'm gonna just see if I can share with you guys the slides I'll be sharing at least for my part of it.
Mhm.
But we're trying to get a bunch of people in the room, in the room, I guess, and really say how do we tackle this crypto thing? Because Mercy Corps is so big and it's so global, to make sure things are done well that preserves the brand and stays beholden to all of the different, the vision, the mission alignment, the principles, the values, all these things. It's kind of difficult, and what I mean is you just need a lot of different people to kind of buy in to make sure that things happen. It's such a
Mhm.
big corporation, and one of the bigger things that is totally crypto but is really difficult with nonprofit work, and this is a little bit behind the scenes here, is that the US government, if you receive US government funds, you can't basically accept anonymous gifts. It's like one of the things they don't really like. They're not really about that. They really want to
Oh,
know where all the
interesting.
money comes from to any of the
Yeah.
organizations that they're supporting.
Yeah.
And this is just public knowledge. You can go look at Mercy Corps 990. I welcome anyone to do so. But such a large chunk comes from the US government. We're kind of in a weird position because while, what's up, Syed? While Mercy Corps gets all this money from the US government, we know that moving forward in crypto or NFTs or Web3, there are a lot of people that engage and act pseudonymously, uh,
Yeah.
or anonymously, and that's how they prefer to be. I mean, maybe Jay is in all of his discords only known as Podmaster Jay. The idea of Jay Harris doesn't even exist. So if Podmaster Jay, though, wants to donate, he should be able to do that, at least under Web3 or crypto rules. But for many nonprofits, they struggle with this because they do get government funding, especially from the US. And so therefore they have to play by different rules. And this is just one of the kind of background challenges,
Yeah.
of accepting crypto,
Yeah.
as far as the philanthropic. And then there's obviously the volatility of the price. If you
Yes.
and Jay donate $1,000 and we don't exchange it instantaneously, so that way it stays $1,000 in Ethereum and Ethereum goes down 5%, and you're only going to get $950. Well, as stewards of the money, stewards of the goodwill of these people who have entrusted us to make a decision on behalf of whatever community we're trying to support, we're now going to bring them 5% less economic energy. right?
Mhm.
And if they don't understand crypto, and if there's not an understanding of what we're trying to do, things get really interesting. So one of the solutions, and I could go on about this forever, one of the solutions though is to keep everything on chain. And the UN is already doing this really quite well. They have a
Mm.
whole transparent, kind of setup where you can see who donated. For example, if you go
Yeah.
on the website, you can see Deloitte donated 47 Ethereum, and then and you'll see the transaction. You can literally click into Etherscan and like look at what's happening. If everything stays in crypto, it's a little bit easier. But when you take things and you turn them into fiat, you get into
Mhm.
this really weird situation. So some nonprofits like Charity Water, they have a Bitcoin trust where they're going to basically hold Bitcoin till the 1st of January 2025. And their
Oh,
whole
wow.
yeah, and they're working on the assumption of the halving cycle. So they're working on the assumption that if you give crypto now, if you give Bitcoin now, it's 21,000. Maybe it's up to 100K by then. Well, then the amount of money that you're actually going to put into these water projects is actually 5x. But this needs the donor to understand that that's what's going to happen, that there is a sense of uncertainty, as well as the organization to be able to have the wherewithal and the conviction and the internal conviction to say, yeah, we're going to hold this. If
Yeah.
Bitcoin goes to $1,000 and they donate at $21,000, we've lost 95% of the economic energy we were given to steward. So crypto
Interesting.
philanthropy will continue to explode. It will be a huge part of the way nonprofits work in the next 3 to 5 years, as NFTs essentially take out the need for like GoFundMe and everything else. You can just launch a project and raise funds that way. And I
Mm.
just think globally, crypto is just a much better way for people to support the organizations that they believe in. So
Wow.
anyways, I'm here to kind of talk with a bunch of different people from all walks of life, some crypto literate, some not crypto literate, some crypto skeptical, some crypto curious, and just try to say,
Too curious.
what can we do? Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, I got crypto curious from Fidelity. I saw a crypto ad from Fidelity and I just like it, and I always click on it so that way the algorithm sends me more ads, because I'm always
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to see how the institutions are selling crypto to the average
Yeah.
person, and that's their
Yeah.
whole thing. Stay crypto curious. So, anyways,
Oh, interesting. And
yeah.
so before we came on, Jay was studying the charts and he triggered me. And I said, we got to pull up, we got to hold on before I say this because
Study
it's going to be good on
chart.
camera. So let's rewind. Jay, you are studying the charts and you're saying the trends match up perfectly?
Yeah. Well, what I saw happening was I was looking at the last bull run, 2021 versus 2017, and looking at the lows that were happening as the bull run was going was moving upwards. So when price is going up, you get a low, and then you get another low that's higher than the previous low, and then an additional low that's even higher than that low, and you get the same thing. The reverse is happening with the highs. And what I noticed is that the rate of increase of the lows was identical in 2021 as it was in 2017. And I guess that made me start thinking about like what could cause them to increase at the same rate. And the thing that I immediately thought of was market manipulation. And that might have
Yeah.
been because that was already in my head. I've already been like reading a bunch of stuff this week about people speculating that the reason why we're having these pumps is because of market manipulation.
Sure.
Um, so that just sort of got stuck in my head.
So like you use the word identical. And I challenge this because like math is accurately identical. And when I challenged you on this, you said you looked at the chart. And so I have to know like, and then you said, yeah, then you said, I think looking at the chart or looking at the visual is the same as looking at the numbers. What do you mean by that? Because
Oh yeah.
because
Well,
I'm
okay, go ahead. My bad.
because like maybe you look and maybe you could even see like the rise over the run of the trend line. And the rise over the run shows that I don't have to know what the numbers are, but I did see that the slope was X. Like, did you at least look at the slope?
Right, yeah. So that is what I'm looking at, the slope of the line, because the slope of the line tells you the rate. It tells you the rise over time. And so that's how you
Okay,
end
so
up
you
with rate.
did look at the overall slope. Let's just say the overall slope was like 8/10, and like you saw that, and you actually found the 8/10. You just didn't look at each measurement. but you did look at it. You weren't just like eyeballing it.
No. So you actually like
Okay. Okay.
line it up with the numbers on the chart. So you get a line, and that line has a mathematical equation. So you just grab that line
Yes.
and
Okay.
move it to the place where you want to do the analysis. And
Over the same time period, like over equal time increments. So you were looking at the bull run
yes,
here, that was 3 months,
over
and you were
equal
looking at the
time.
bull run here as 3 months. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm with you. No critique. when you said
Yeah.
I just look at it.
Yeah, Jay, it sounded like in The Hangover when he's doing all the card counting and all those things are like flying around his head, all the equations. That's what I pictured
yeah.
you doing.
What's that movie? The one with the guy with the British, the Boston accent, and he's like super smart, and it's like
Good Will
he's at
Hunting.
good. That's what it is. Yeah.
Was that
Oh,
you?
yeah,
Was
yeah.
that you looking at the charts?
That's what you reminded me of just now when you said that.
You know, to this point of go ahead, Jarrett. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think you've redeemed yourself because I too was like, Jay, you just looked at a Bitcoin chart for a second. You're like, oh, this is identical.
Literally.
Yeah, but yeah, looking at the rise over run or looking at the slope, and then just taking that and then dropping it on 3 months back in 2017. There are a lot of things that look very similar between this and 2017 and 2021. 2013, not as much, but. Anyway, Grant, sorry, you were going to go, and then I'll go in another direction once you finish up.
Well, I mean, he were making the point, Jay, and I do agree with this of market manipulation. And the thing, I think it's moot to call out market manipulation. Why? Because I think that's the default. Like the default. And what is market manipulation? It's not people twisting their mustaches off to the side and being like, It's people going, I have an ish ton, and because I have economies of scale, I'm going to move it down here, get it to pump, then I'm going to get some here, and then I'm going to get it to pump, and then I'm going to get some here, and I'm going to offload a tenth of my holdings and take a little bit of cash because I need cash to pay this payroll over here, and then I'll let the market kind of follow suit. So, I mean, but I guess what you're calling out is the identical nature of it. We know that market manipulation is there, but if the slopes then and now are like identical, is it the same players?
It could be that somebody's figured out that if I want this thing to increase, I have to at least get it to pop by this much price in this much time, and
to
then
sustain.
The media is going to pick it up. It's going to be on Twitter, and then people are going to start buying it, and it's going to be the domino effect. It could be that somebody's just done the math on that and figured it out.
That would take some infrastructure. That would take a team effort to make that happen. So, like, are we just talking the largest in Ethereum world, the largest node holders, or the largest miners and Bitcoin just coordinating, or does it just take one ant miner? They're like one of the top. They're the top miner, right?
Yeah, it could be one, right? Like I'm trying to remember when this happened. I think it happened in the 90s, but in the UK, there was this one guy who basically did that and brought down the entire market. Just some guy in his home.
What are you talking? What we're talking about, like stock market bubble of 90s or the internet bubble?
In the stock market. So not the, say maybe it was in the 90s, and maybe it would have been early 2000s, but basically somebody trading online at home, and they figure out that they can get access to the like trading software that the exchange is using, and by having access to this software, they're able to put in trades at like lightning fast speeds.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is put in the trade and then take it out before it gets closed. And so they're just doing that all the time. And so from the perspective of everyone else, it looks like, oh man, price is going up because people are trades are coming in for higher and higher prices. And so that one guy is able to manipulate the market just by the way that the trades are coming in. So it's possible to happen, right? Like one person can figure out some loophole. And especially with crypto, with the decentralization of exchanges and the deregulation of exchanges, you can have one player, just one person in here, figuring out how to manipulate a market. That's why the price of Bitcoin in Japan is one price, and then in Nigeria it's another price, and then in the US it's a completely different price, right?
I wanted to actually, I'm glad you talked about the market manipulation, because Jay, what are the things that you're reading specifically? Also, shout out Brian. What's up?
What's up, Ryan?
To one of my other favorite degens. What are you reading specifically? Like, what article did you read that discussed market manipulation? Because and before you, so think about that, because for me, market manipulation is this TradFi thing, where
what?
Yeah. Market manipulation is a TradFi thing. In a fully free market like crypto, which is just supply and demand, I don't see it as market manipulation. I just see it as big bank take little bank. That's it. This idea of market manipulation.
What is your definition of market manipulation, Jarrett?
My working definition of market manipulation is someone manipulating the market. Someone, an actor, one person, as Jay is saying, or a group or an investment fund, making a move that's going to entice everyone else to do it. I guess I just don't think market manipulation is a bad thing in crypto.
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think so. I joke with my Christian friends. What was the sin that happened in the garden that caused the fall of mankind? And everyone's like, Adam ate the apple or some BS, right? And I'm like, no. And this cooks Christians' minds. I said, Satan spun language and everyone bought it, because Satan said, "Didn't God say?" And Adam was like, "Oh yeah." A redefinition of terms, basically redefining terms, to me is the ultimate sin that happened in all Christianity. And so for me, market manipulation is a net effect, not a cause. And the net effect could be this: big bank takes small bank. Market manipulation happens just by sheer scale and volume alone. Or it could also be what Jay's saying is one person with a master plan, like Wall Street Bets, does X and gets it over the edge. Or the Illuminati is like, okay, backroom deals, Japan, Nigeria, let's all do this and we'll trade with ourselves until the thing goes. And it's like, we've all bought up what we wanted to buy up now. Let's drive this thing up to 30 or 60 again. And we don't even need to know how far it's going to go. We just need to trigger the tsunami up now.
We just need to know it's going to go.
So for me, market manipulation is either it's only bad in TradFi because we hate that the government does it, but we're okay with it in DeFi because, well, it's free market capitalism and this guy did it, you know? And so for me, it's like, well, market manipulation is still mows over the little guy, right?
I mean, so I need to watch the Netflix documentary on Wall Street Bets. I guess it's just like, what is the little guy, right? Is the little guy a billionaire, or is the little guy us retail traders? I don't know. I'm losing my like definitions here between TradFi. I feel like we're using TradFi terms and just like laying them over the crypto framework, because I don't think there's any market manipulation. I think the CPI came out and 48 hours later, the institution said we're going in. And the institutions just started buying big. If you look at how much Bitcoin has gone up, we're talking billions and billions of dollars. This was not retail. And Coin Bureau went into this deeply when he talked about this. This is institutions. This is Bank of America. This is BlackRock. And so they saw the CPI was a little bit better. And literally within 24 to 48 hours, this thing kicks off. Now they're going to wait till February 1st to see how much Jerome Powell is going to raise or not. But then after that, we could see it go up. So I don't really see it as market manipulation. And the other thing that this is just a stat, and actually I want to share, is from the PowerPoint that I have for Mercy Court tomorrow. And I don't actually know if I'm going to share it because it's really kind of like in the weeds, but I think you guys will enjoy it. And I wrote this out. It says the FTX collapse, when the FTX collapse happened, they had about 20,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet. Okay. And this is worth about 400 million. In a Bitcoin market of around 320 billion, which comes out to 0.00125% or 12.5% of 1%. That's how much Bitcoin that FTX had. Okay. Mt. Gox in 2014 had 840,000 Bitcoin worth around 460 million in a Bitcoin market of 6.9 billion or 6.6%. And I share that because Mt. Gox was 53 times greater than FTX And obviously Mt. Gox
relative to its market,
relative to its market. Obviously, Mt. Gox changed crypto, and crypto would probably be in a different place as far as adoption of Mt. Gox and how, because it burnt so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, even with FTX, something where they have 400 million in Bitcoin, and it just basically gets locked up and kind of lost, at least to arbitration, and we're going to figure out like what's going to happen. The point is, I think it takes a lot of money to move Bitcoin, and I don't think any one player has that much money unless you get into a BlackRock and they push about 10% of their assets under management. They take $1 trillion and they say, let's see what happens. So,
but based on your working definition,
yeah,
if BlackRock, the consumer price index shows very happy numbers for most people, headlines are hitting, big institutions are trying to move faster. BlackRock dumps 10% of its acquires or dumps 10% of its holdings. It makes moves, and that moves the market. It creates confidence. It for retail traders. I know retail traders didn't make that move. BlackRock did, and big institutions did.
Sure.
But based on your definition, that is not market manipulation.
I mean, I guess here's the thing. I feel like in TradFi, when we say market manipulation, also OTC is spiked up at the same time. Exactly. Yeah, that's all these things are happening. I guess I feel like market manipulation, when we say it, is a bad thing in TradFi. It's like
I'm trying to make it a neutral thing. Jay, where do you stand? Are you
Jay, how do you
bad
use
thing
it?
or a neutral thing?
It's a bad thing. I think so, and I think you're right as well, Jarrett. That just making a trade doesn't make it market manipulation, even if the market does move. I think what makes a trade market manipulation is why you made the trade. Like, if I have no information about the market and I show up and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna buy 1 million Bitcoin today, and that moves the market. There's no manipulation that happened. I had no information. But if I knew for sure that buying 1 million Bitcoin would 10x the price, and no one else had access to that information other than me, then it means the market is no longer free, and we're no longer, the movements aren't based on the organic input from the members. Then at that point, I'm manipulating the market, and at that point, it's negative. Because now, I don't have to make the price go up. I can make the price go down.
Yes, that's okay. I don't know if Grant was going to go there. The thing, Jay, I think you've hit on, which is so central, I think probably the conversation we're having, is the inequity or the equity of information. And I think with crypto, especially if we're just going to look at Bitcoin, let's not use like crypto, because there's just, what does that mean? I'm like living in the world where people are like, what's crypto mean? I'm like, well, there's 22,000 on Bitcoin market cap, right? Let's just look at Bitcoin though. Most people have really, when I say most people, even the three of us, we have really good levels of information to look at Bitcoin and probably make a decision on how much we want to put into the market at any one time, right? So, but I think you're totally right. If there's one person who knows something that the rest of the world doesn't, and then they go in and they say, I'm either going to push the price higher or I'm going to push the price lower due to some strategy that they have, that to me feels more like manipulation. But once again, I don't know if it's a bad thing.
I view, so this parallels or touches on the debate about size of nodes.
Yes.
And how much voting power a node has. Why is this a debate? This is why, Jarrett, I think I disagree that maybe the TradFi connotation of market manipulation being bad, because it is the big fish. That's going to happen in any market. There's going to be a big fish and a smaller fish. I think what goes on in a TradFi market is, in a TradFi market, we have government intervention, and we hate that. And I think when we use the term market manipulation in a TradFi world, we're like, these people that are involved with government and governments themselves and then big institutions, they're stifling us, they're shutting us down, and that is bad. But I think we would be ignorant to say that there's not parallels in DeFi, because nodes or just large miners, they determine a lot. And Jay, I do agree with information. The way I view information in a manipulation is who has the initiating piece of information, like that piece of information that initiates market moves, market momentum. And in DeFi, it's more centralized than anyone because you get the top 3 node managers who represent, I think, over 65% of the entire market, both in Ethereum and in Bitcoin. And they just call each other or chat and go, hey, this is what we're going to do. And that's all they have to do. And they can push the retail market like it was nobody's business. Now, I don't think that's what happens all the time, but to pretend that that's not possible is like we're still crossing our fingers that crypto ethos is reigning in DeFi. This spirit of, well, I'm not going to intervene, but they could very easily. They could delay their internet connect, literally wiggle the wire and delay how blocks are forming, know that delay is happening and make trades based on that alone. Like, I mean, like there is so many points of centralization and Bitcoin, the decentralized one, just because of the way miners are run, that they could easily do it. Now, I don't think they are, but I'm saying when I come to use the term defining of market manipulation, I just simply am referring to those who have the preceding information that leads a change in the market that is big enough to cause a whole trend up or down, bull or bear. That's how I use the term. And I don't think it's bad. I think it's evolutionary of a free market.
Yeah, I guess that's my thing. I don't feel like it's a bad thing. I think it just is. You can look at it and say it's bad. Somebody may look at it and say it's good. I'm looking at it and saying it just is what it is. I just think the word manipulation is probably a crappy word, to go back to your talking of the Garden of Eden. When you think about somebody who manipulates, it's someone who takes advantage of a situation for their better. I feel like. So
what should we call it? What should we call it? Because Jay is holding on to there is something evil or bad or wrong.
I don't know. I don't know if Jay does Jay feel like it's evil?
Not the way you're using it.
Yeah, not the way you're saying it, but I'm saying that, and maybe I'm gonna jump in on something you said, Grant. Like,
yeah,
if one person has information that the rest of us don't have, at that point, it's no longer a free market.
I agree.
And so, 100%. And that when it becomes bad.
Which is why I don't actually think there is such a thing as an actual free market, because organically someone will always have information that others don't have, at least for a period of time.
Yeah, even if that's 3 minutes, right? Like So here's the thing. I think it's like market movers, because when I think, and let's just think about, like, we've talked about hypotheticals, you know, like if someone bought 1 million Bitcoin, let's go back to March of 2021. And in February of 2021, it's February, early March, Elon has said Tesla, I think it was actually January 2021, Elon said Tesla will now receive Bitcoin as payment. If you want to pay for your Tesla, you can use Bitcoin. He was flirting with Doge, started with Bitcoin. ESG concerns through the friggin' roof. Everyone's like, the energy is crazy. How can you be using electric cars to save the world and get us off fossil fuels? But then you're like using this, and then everyone, you know, said Bitcoin was boiling the oceans. So Elon comes out in March, and this also has to do with taxes. It aligned well with the April 15th. And he said, look, I'm not going to accept Bitcoin anymore for Tesla until Bitcoin gets its act together. And then he like literally sent a message, or probably just a tweet to the Bitcoin Miners Association, you know, the global association, like where they all meet up. The price tanked after that, right? He went on to eventually sell 300 million. I always use the Elon Musk when he sold 300 million because he wanted test liquidity, because that's one of the biggest pushbacks I get about Bitcoin. Oh, well, it's not a liquid market. What if I want to sell my Bitcoin and there's no buyer? I'm like, well, Elon thought the same thing, and he sold 300 million, I think, using Coinbase Prime or whatever it was, in like a day and a half. So when Elon does that, right, he comes out. Now, it's not just so that he had more information than anyone else, but he definitely moved the market. I don't think he manipulated it. If anything, he hurt himself, because the price of Bitcoin, an asset that he holds at that point, 1.2 billion of, you know, was that market manipulation, or was that just market mover? And then we have a bunch of comments here from Allison and George we should get to.
Yeah, real quick, Brian and Jay, jump in at any moment by all means. I'm just getting to these comments.
I would have said that Elon did get sued for market manipulation. I don't know what happened with that case, but I definitely.
You're right.
He did.
You're right,
He did.
and he was referring both to what you said, but also my point. Like the insider trading issues and the flags are raised all day long, and because of pseudo anonymity of crypto, like I think DeFi is a worse infractor of insider trading.
For sure.
So
There's no
Brian
rules.
says Terra Luna DPEG is a good case study for the topic. Yes, from a lot of angles. In fact, I think tons of angles we could go. Oh, and Do Kwon and this and like what was Do Kwon doing with his private? I mean, everywhere. Who's like? I think projects don't get rugged. I think owners know the information before anyone else and are like, I'm not going to get left holding this bag. And they're just they're just another retail trader panicked, but they have the first information that their own business project is tanking. So they're going to freaking rug it. Allison, let's pause on this real quick. George Totorola has some really good stuff here, and I want to touch on it. Allison says, though, she's not convinced the bull market is here. Jay, you might have alluded to this. Do you think the bull market is here, or is this a soft pump?
It could still very well be a soft pump because, a lot of it is still dependent on where do we see tech prices go, tech stocks go when earnings seasons come around. If the Federal Reserve
Still
is
waiting on earnings,
yeah, if the Federal Reserve still increases interest rates beyond the 5% or 5.5% that they indicated that they're gonna go to, we could see this whole thing turn around, right?
I agree. Question to Jarrett and the viewers: what Jay is pointing at is something that I think the guys and I are in agreement with. There is no principle of decoupling anymore. Like the markets are fairly coupled, specifically because these institutions are now very present in crypto. And Jay's getting at the tech earnings, which should all be reporting like early February through March and April. So Jarrett, to you, talk to me about a bull market, bear market, or just a soft bull. What do we got here?
I've been very vocal on this channel that I have not been buying. I haven't bought anything since about May or June, and I've just been sitting on cash. So over the last week, as it's gone up, that's been kind of a punch in the gut because, I could have gone in at 15 and now it's at 21. But I was reminded that, and Coin Bureau, once again, he goes into depth on this, but like there's so much that still has to happen this year. Yeah. And it's early. And we still have CPI needs to come out again, and we need to see what the Fed is going to do.
Job numbers.
And job numbers. And basically, Jerome Powell is still on the warpath. He'd rather tank the economy than deal with hyperinflation like we saw in the 70s. And when we look at the economy, and I say tank the economy, he needs to see the unemployment numbers go up, essentially, before like he's going to stop, basically increasing interest rates. So I think right now it is the 17th of January. I'm going to start putting money into the market on February 1st, regardless of where Bitcoin is. That's my new thing. And I'm going to be fairly aggressive for about the 3 months, February, March, and April. I'm going to be fairly aggressive in my DCA strategy and how much I'm going to put in. Yeah. Because I think you're going to see the bottom. I've always thought that the bottom would be between January 1st and essentially June 1st. Because once we get into the summer, I just think things are going to be different. And the things that are going to be different is I think we're actually going to hit a bottom in the economy. It's going to be bad. Employment is going to actually start to soar. And cue all the natural disasters, cue all these other things. We're about to get into a new political climate in the United States. We've got an election that's only 16 or 18 months away now, like whatever it is. It's so close. There's just a lot that needs to happen. I don't even think we've seen half the fallout of FTX. Mount Gox took months and months and months. Yeah, we've talked about this. We talked about how the Southern District of New York City is like, we don't even have the resources to tamp down and even figure out what this guy did. So I don't even think we've seen the fallout of that. Gemini's on the ropes.
Oh, Gemini's on the ropes. I think that's the next big one. Yeah.
They're dealing with a bunch of issues. The WEF is meeting this week or now, which is a whole different thing. I mean, there's so much going on in the world economy. And with interest rates rising, I see this more as a soft pump, right? Bitcoin's gone up 26, 27%. If you've been around Bitcoin, that's nothing. Now it feels great though, because it's gone from 15.5 to 16.5 all the way up to 21. It's all institutional. I think that it will come back down. I'm still eyeing an 8 to 12, but I think it's going to be closer to somewhere 10 to 12 at the lowest. And when I say the lowest, I mean like this will happen for like a day and a half, maybe. And then it will also tick up, right? Like when you hit the lows in 2018 and 2019, they were there, but they were, if you didn't have limit buys in, essentially, if you were just trying to market buy, it's nearly impossible. So you need to have conviction, put in money and say buy at this point, and then see what happens and continue DCAing, I guess.
So you keep calling Mr. Maxey, you keep calling for a dip post halving because that's been the trend, right? So an initial dip immediately after the post halving, and then a jump to new highs.
Okay, I want to make sure that the halving is going to happen in March or April of 2024. Mm-hmm. And normally a year out from the halving, which is this March or April, you're going to see some real lows in theory. You're going to start and that's going to coincide with a bunch of different things as we've talked about here. There's just a lot of moving macro pieces. But by the time the halving happens in March or April of 2024, I think Bitcoin will be comfortably around $30,000.
Jay, does that jive? So some of these dips, does that jive with, your back testing back to 2017 and looking at some of the charts, eyeballing some of the charts? What are you predicting?
Yeah, I predicted that's crazy, dude, that you spot on with. I predicted that the highest that it's going to get in the next year is going to be like around 30,000. I heard somebody else say, I forget who said it, in 2023, it's probably not going to get any higher than 35,000.
If it does, it will be surprising. By March of 2024, right around the halving, I think it'll be around 30 or 40. But then what's going to happen after that? The halving will set in. That will take like a day to a week for like the miners to kind of realize, holy shit, this has actually happened, even though we've been getting ready for it. As it goes from 6.25 down to 3.125 in rewards per block. And then the programmable thing that Satoshi put in is going to kick in, right? Where the musical chair starts to play again. And there's just a lot more demand for now, a lessened supply every 10 minutes. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. So, and then we'll see. And I do expect all the money that will come in before that to be about 80 to 90% institutional. There'll be some retail people like the three of us, maybe Brian, maybe George, maybe Allison, maybe any other people that are kind of like staying in tune to this and are highly aware of this schedule that will kind of know that this is when they need to get their money in. But after 2020, here's something here. If you're looking for like a quote you can write down and then roast me on later on Twitter if I'm wrong. I don't think you're going to see a sub 20,000 Bitcoin after the next halving. So after 2024 halving, I don't think you'll ever see a sub 20,000 Bitcoin again. It's just going to get crazy.
I'm capturing this.
Yeah, good. Grant's writing this down in his diary. Today, Jarrett said.
I'm writing in my diary to the world.
Exactly.
That,
here we go.
So $20,000 BTC after the next halving. I hear that. So real quick, George Totorolo, please forgive me as I butcher your name. You corrected me even in the past. So much happens behind the scenes in both TradFi and DeFi conversations, and 0.01% of traders shape the decision process of 99% retailers. Do you think so or no? You're shaking your head no, which is
I'm shaking my head like I think he's spot on. I mean, I just think that's how the world works. Unfortunately, we live in such an unequal world where 0.1% of traders, if there's 500 million traders on the planet, that's still a lot of people, even if it's 1%. You know what I mean? Like
0.01%. Yeah. Oh, King O'Shats wants to hype us. We won't bring that up on the screen. Keep going.
Oh, are you sure we don't want to bring that up and just see who takes the scam bait? Actually, if we're going to talk about something, I would love, can we shift away from the market for a second? We can always come back to it, but the market's not going anywhere. Please continue to DCA. Don't listen to me. Don't hold your money in cash. Okay. I'm a bum. Something happened this week, which I thought was it got a lot of news in and around the time it didn't work was GameStop. Big facts. Something happened this week in Web3, especially with NFTs, that I thought was fairly like the ripple effect felt uncomfortable. And I don't know who this person is. I don't even know if it's a man. I don't know if it's a woman. I don't know if it's gender fluid. Whoever this NFT god, they have a really compelling Twitter. They write unbelievable threads. They create great content, and they lost all of their crypto and all of their NFTs this past week to a phishing scam. And it's kind of made the rounds around the internet and on Twitter, and it's kind of crazy. And I could read the entire thread, but essentially,
Who was it?
NFT God,
Okay.
but NFT God had a mutant ape. So we're talking like they had some things they lost. You know, like they probably lost 6 figures of NFT and crypto. And it was just insane because here's this person that's on Twitter all day long that is deep into NFTs, deep into NFT, has 16,000 Substack subscribers, is a kind of a hub of information in this decentralized world. And I know you both are probably searching NFT God. And this happened. And I just thought it bears importance to say that no matter how long you are in this racket being crypto, Web3, and NFTs, you need to be careful at all times. It turned out the way that the phishing scam worked is he mistakenly clicked on a Google sidebar ad, and that sidebar ad had some phishing software or something, got into his computer. But the real mistake, here's the real mistake, because that could happen to anyone, right? That could happen to anyone. That probably happens 1,000 times a minute, whatever. The real mistake was that when he was setting up his MetaMask or something, basically he put his seed phrase out on the internet. He made a mistake. Something asked him for a seed phrase and he thought it was MetaMask.
Oh my
and
God.
He put it in, and then they got his seed phrase and they drained from his account.
Wow.
And I may be butchering some of that, but the point is, no matter how deep you are into this can happen to you. Remco, who was coming more than blockchain, he's in Holland. He's probably on the forefront of movement in the metaverse. One of the leaders. Yeah, he is an amazing, just an amazing soul, and I really look forward to meeting him one day. He also lost his NFTs in 2022, in about summer of 2022. And my buddy Jeff, who set up our mining rig and figured out the entire Ethereum thing, because I wasn't able to figure it out. He's just a very tech savvy dude. He also lost his NFTs. So I just want to say, lost his crypto. I just want to say that he had on MetaMask. He has a lot on cold storage that he didn't lose, but the stuff that he had up, right? I just want to say, no matter where you are, you need to make sure you are being very, very, very weary, if you have crypto or NFTs, of every single click you make on the internet. That's all. I just wanted to take that moment. And it looks like Allison is saying something. The word of the day, and now I guess I'm going to have to try to say this.
Ultrasepidarian
from Outer Lumen. This is all about the scam NFT God experienced. Interesting discussion about if we offer advice and then don't follow the advice we share in threads, etc. Yes, it's very true. So anyways, I just wanted to say that because I think it bears saying again, as we're in a moment of kind of reflection and the market and ourselves and what moves are we going to make or how are we going to do it. Just know that there are people that are maybe even be more Web3 than you are that are getting scammed. So it's all the more reason why you just need to constantly be careful. And I'm trying to probably increase my own kind of cybersecurity. Thinking about just having an email strictly for that. That's under like a more secure email, etc. 2 or 3 FA, just like get it all,
Her definition of she says it's spelled differently down in her post a little further. It says ultracrepidarians.
Yeah.
One who gives opinions on something beyond his or her knowledge, a person passing judgment beyond his or her expertise. Now, this is social media right now. I've really been on this kick that, crypto Twitter, but also fitness Twitter, fitness Instagram are full of people who are giving opinions, like the one guy who's like, never eat another plant because plants have defense mechanisms and it's bad for your gut lining. And it like lion diet only, which is like meat and maybe some maybe some fruit. I think they
Oh,
say
is
now.
this the Liver King?
No. Liver King is something else, but he's been out. He's out of the market now because he got caught lying about steroids, right?
Alice, did you listen to the whole interview? Or completely sidetracked it with this. He wasn't actually taking steroids. Not like steroids, the definition of steroids. He was doing some stuff that regular people don't do. And it gets
Yes.
lumped into the
Shay, what is stuff that regular people don't
he
do?
was taking hormone replacements.
Yeah,
which,
I mean it was
which
basic.
isn't a steroid.
Well, it's not steroid as people understand steroids, but bro, I'm in the gym.
It's a performance enhancer, though, right?
Well, what matters is this. If you go through your entire career, build up to where you're jacked and you have a multi-$100 million empire, and the whole time you say, I'm natty, I'm natural. It doesn't matter if you're jacked up on TRT, Tren, or whatever. If it comes back that even you had hormone replacement, which is very normal. Men go get subscribed about 250 milligrams a week. That's very normal. But to say you're natty and natural and you did this by eating raw liver and it built your empire, I don't care who you are. You deserve to get called out because you're trying to make it seem like, no, like there. And this is to Allison's point. Ultra crepidarians are people who, well, actually, it's a little different. People who are speaking beyond their knowledge. They've just learned how to speak and how to deliver information in a way that gets people to react, respond, buy their goods, but they don't even know if it works. And I think this is what I'm trying to teach people on my channel how to read through. This is why I'm so particular about, I had this one guy who posted this morning on Twitter and I responded, and he has like 80,000 followers, blows my following away. But he said, Bitcoin will never see 100,000. Ethereum will never see 10,000. And I'm saying, you're allowed to say things like, it's unlikely, in my opinion, that this will hit this and that, but you can't say never because
it would surprise me.
Well, when you say never, you're triggering people, but you're not actually saying rational things because, well, over a long enough timeline, monkeys could write Shakespeare. That's not never.
I mean,
right? That's statistically possible.
We are monkeys, right? So
right, yeah. But my point is that there's so many pseudo professionals out here that I'm glad I have a word for it. Ultra crepidarians. I'm using that from now on.
I'm glad I have a word for it too. Thank you, Allison. Allison is our give us the vocab word of the day. I was thinking the same thing earlier. I was thinking to myself, and I don't need to call anyone out here because if you're listening and you're one of these people, you already know. But it's like being a content creator and having created podcasts since summer of 2020. It's been a really tough time to create projects and try to make profit and make something happen and sell a product or a service. We're in a crazy world, people are still trying to build Web 2 businesses like it's Web 1, and here we are in Web 3,
Sure.
And so I was thinking to myself, and I was going through some of my episodes and also just thinking about people that I had talked with and been like, oh, I really want to come on the pod. Because I did. There's a handful of people who I've been on spaces with and listened to, talked about Web3 as though it was their religion and that they would never leave it, even if it left them. And that this was the thing that was going to change everything. And you know what I realized? I realized they were just leveraging Web3 to make money.
Yeah.
And when the money dried up and their discords went, more quiet than text with your ex, they were gone. They were Gucci. And that's honestly though, it's okay. It's okay. And I get that because if your main thing is profit, if your main thing is I want to make money and the carnival leaves town and you were a carny, you gotta leave town too.
Yeah.
But that makes me really happy to see people that are still here, people that are still talking about NFTs, people that are still talking about Web3, even after they've been hurt, even after they've lost money, even after things didn't go their way. Because this space, I was just thinking, and we could all just like sit with our own little Rolodex, but like there's been people who I thought were going to go the distance, all because of the way, like you were saying, Grant, the way that they were talking about the space.
Yes.
I felt like they understood, but really they were just able to reflect the sentiment that maybe people wanted to hear, that they didn't actually believe and or understand. And then when things didn't pan out, basically the market went dry and a lot of NFT projects just flopped. They just said, well, We gave it a go. And what I'm most interested is, are they going to come back in 2025 when this thing
Sure.
goes somewhere between, breaks 69,000 and is going to the moon? And, anyway, so I love Allison. What's this word? Ultra crepidarian. It even sounds gross. Ultra crepidarian. It's our new word, our word of the day here at Crypto Bros. But
Yeah.
so Grant, you've been seeing that. Jay, do you see this? I want to see if Jay, because I feel like we both shared some ideas around this. But Jay, are you seeing this as well? Have you seen this? Does this come up for you as a content creator and someone who is engaging constantly with content creators to help support them? Because really, there's always that. And Jay, I'm just gonna give you a little bit more fodder as I introduce this idea. But there's this idea that like fake it till you make it. Like you have to kind of live the habits of a millionaire until you're a millionaire, right? Some people would say, well, that's whack. Right. Other people would say, no, you're just mimicking the habits that help other people to get to where you want to be. So, Jay, as a content creator who also is a content creator coach, that's kind of how I see you. How do you help people navigate that? Because if someone gets on a podcast their first time, they're going to suck. I'm not even sure if my podcast is good, but every day I just try to make it that little bit better. And eventually I'll have enough iterations that somehow it goes, the market will tell me, the audience will tell me, hey man, that was not a good episode, whatever. But Jay, how do you deal with that as a content creator coach?
I mean, I don't know if you can necessarily change who people are. I think a lot of it just boils down to like what type of content creator this is. It's like you're saying, there are lots of people who get in and sort of see it as a means to an end. Like I'll make some content, I'll get a following, and then I'll be Instagram famous, and that's maybe all I want. Or I'll get a following and then I can sell them a bunch of products and now make a bunch of money, and that's all I need. But then there's another type of content creator, people who are like really artistic. And so, artists are generally kind of fickle. Like you really into it this month, and then next month maybe not so much, and then you come back to it again, and then you sort of like flip-flopping back and forth. And I think sometimes those people who are super artistic get put into this bucket as the other people who are just trying to take advantage. But I after this whole like bear market is over, I think is when we'll be able to see the whole thing come out.
Yeah, I feel the same. And Grant, I love your calling out this guy who said he's natty, and then clearly he was, using something else. And I'm blanking, and I can't remember exactly where this was, but there was a woman who was supposed to be, she was on Instagram, and she was like one of the leading vegans on Instagram.
Oh,
and she was
I
caught.
remember that.
Yeah. And she was caught eating fish. And she came out and basically was like, my doctor said I was missing all these minerals and vitamins. Because when you go vegan, it can be really dangerous if you don't know how to do it.
It's not necessarily healthy. It's not necessarily unhealthy, but
exactly. I was vegan for 6 months. And the thing I would tell people is like, oh my God, they're like, that's basically because people think when you're vegan, you're so pious or you're so righteous or whatever. And I'm like, no, soda and Doritos is also vegan, right? Like there are, it's just not animal products, right? And Oreos, sure. And so I remember that woman, she was like at a beach somewhere in Latin America and just had the fillet of fish like I have all the time. They just fry a fish and they give it to you, and it's amazing until you bite into one of the espinas and you cut your mouth open. But it's I remember when that happened, and I really felt for her though, because she had built up this following and she was trying to do something. But really what it comes down to, if you're going to make a change and you've been saying, like, if I'm like the Bitcoin maxi in your life, and then it comes out that my portfolio is 90% Cardano, I got to be transparent about that before. You know what I mean? Like, I got to be saying, hey, well, Charles Hoskins is my boy, and he texts me on the low, give me all this information. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be, I don't know. I think being transparent is really, really important when you're a content creator. And if you don't do that, you're going away from authenticity, and the farther you go from authenticity, the closer you go to ruin.
This is why I love technology. I think we were born in an extraordinary time, especially of social media. Social media is a double-edged sword for the weak-minded, but for the self-aware, and not even the self-aware, even those who only respond to external stimuli, if you get out here and bullshit somebody, you're going to get called on it. And And I like that, because if you're an introspective person, you will take the lesson and grow from it. And it forces, like we watched Mr. Beast this morning and some stuff by him. I can't imagine someone who deserves their success more. Someone who is so purely authentic that is integrated. And that's huge. That's all any of us want. We want an integrated existence where we're famous, we're successful, and we're not hiding corners of ourselves. And so, stuff like the Liver King, he made money, he was famous, he was around hot women, he's got a great body, but like it comes out and he could be, if he's not careful, lose a lot of that. And simply because you formed an identity around I'm this one thing. And I think that it's a narrow thread to weave for us to be content creators and say, hey, I'm trying this thing, or this is what I've done to date. I might change it, but follow along as we try X. And I, we joke in Web3 and DeFi, NFA, not financial advice. Like what should go along with that is I'm not so sure. It's just my opinion, but I'm going to try X. And if you'd like to follow along, this is what I'm trying, and have that authenticity go along with it. Now, Jay, you were calling out artists, and I did want to just applaud that thought. You said artists quite often get lumped in with rug pullers, I think is kind of paraphrasing what you were saying. Yeah. Those scammers. Mm-hmm. And it's like, only when they acted like con people, con men and women. And con men and women, for those who forget, stands for confidence men and confidence women, meaning the currency they use to win people over was certainty and confidence. There's not much in my life that if people were watching the show and I was giving financial advice or fitness advice or small business advice or spiritual advice, there's not much that I would say, if you do this, I guarantee you'll see the result. There's not much I would say that about goal setting. I guarantee you'll get the results if you actually do the work. I guarantee it, because I still do it. And more importantly, that framing of confidence also says, when I don't set goals, I also don't get results. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, ultra crepidarians, that was a little bit of a diatribe off of crypto for sure, but I think valuable nonetheless. What shout outs do you guys have today? If any, is it too soon for that?
It's kind of too soon. I don't know. Is it too soon? I never know. Sometimes we go over, sometimes we go under.
That's how I was thinking. We shave over quite often.
Let's shave under to bring down the median. I'll start out and then maybe you can throw it back to me. So my shout out is for anyone that's still here, anyone that's still listening to Not Crypto Bros, because behind the scenes, Grant, Jay, and I have been very, very honest, as I have been also with myself with More Than Blockchain, that 2023 is going to be a tough year. It's going to be a year where people are going to maybe not dig this content as much as they want, not because they don't enjoy the content, probably because they just need a break. They're down. Their portfolio is 70, 80, 90, maybe more % down. They've lost NFT in some scam. They were part of a DAO that no longer exists and they really enjoyed. Whatever the reason, I get that people will want to take some time away from crypto and Web3. So if you're still around, we're here for you. We're really glad that you're joining us. And, by 2024, you're going to be able to say, I was with them in 2022 and 2023, rocking it. So shout out to anyone who's still here. Definitely shout out to you too. That's my shout out.
Jay, you got any shout outs today?
Yeah, I'll shout out all the people who are investing in crypto for the first time this year. I've been talking to a bunch of people who are like that, who are like, man, I missed the whole thing last year and the year before. What's it looking like this year? Is this the year to get involved? And I'm telling people, it's like start slowly. Like this might not be like a great year for crypto, but it's a great year to learn. And so buy $100 worth of Bitcoin and then start messing around and see what you can get, see which companies you fall in love with and keep it going.
Yeah. My shout out is to this person right here coming up in the comments. On theme today for someone who's still here, someone who cares, someone who is not an ultra crepidarian, someone who's in it, but might have been when she started. Hello, I'm Morgan. She runs On-Chain TV. I believe it's one of the most well-attended Twitter spaces. She has done 365 plus episodes straight every single night, and one of the worst bears that we have seen in a long time. It's overnight typically, and when I used to go for my walks around the lake at 3:30 in the morning, they were still going on the West Coast, right? And so she sleeps during the day. Her GM, her good morning comes in at like 1 in the afternoon, right? Like she goes all night long. But I have yet to see someone as persistent and consistent as Hello, I'm Morgan. And she has no idea. Like, we're not connected in any way. There's no plug here. It's just someone I have a huge amount of respect for. So that's my shout out. Jarrett.
Follow us. LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Not Crypto Bros. Check out our website if you haven't. Why not? NotCryptoBros.xyz. We will see you next Tuesday at 3:30. Today we started a little bit later, and that was thanks to the boys because I was a little bit behind. I had a travel day today. But we'll see you next Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great